All right, Sam. Coca-Cola, 3 words or less.
Okay. Timeless bubbly beverage.
I'm going with battery terminal cleaner.
That is good. That is good.
Oh, all right. We're talking about Coca-Cola today, Sam. We're doing a little brand evolution.
Yeah.
Maybe this will turn into a series. We'll see.
Yeah.
But we're gonna be talking about Coca-Cola, and man, what a interesting brand from like a just the span of time.
Yeah.
138 years as a
100,
brand, as a
138
company.
years. And I didn't know this before today, Mike, but it actually started as the well-known Pemberton's French wine Coca brand.
I mean, everyone knows it. Come
Yeah.
on.
It's an American classic.
I could not believe when we were researching this that was the name of the original product. I was like, what is happening? And it's an alcoholic product. If anyone
Yeah.
was
Yeah.
curious if wine actually meant that it was alcoholic, the answer is yes.
That's why
Absolutely.
it works for all nervous disorders.
It does fulfill its promise, I
Yeah.
guess.
Yeah. And maybe still today a little bit for some people.
Yeah.
Um, it's an interesting brand, Mike. Obviously, a one of the biggest brands in the world, and a lot of people kind of associate it with the main beverage of Coca-Cola, the classic beverage, as you can see here. But we're going to get into some other elements of the brand other than just the product that they kind of have all over the world now, and products, because it's not just about this one beverage.
No, it's
But
not.
we'll kind of dive into like how, from a just a visual standpoint, what is public facing, how Coca-Cola really is kind of the icon for brand consistency. And they've been doing
Oh
that
yeah.
for almost 140 years, Mike. How do you think they've managed to do that?
I to be honest, I don't know other than maybe like stubbornness. And at some level, like if you have enough success, you don't have to change. Maybe I don't know. It's incredible though. Like you look at their logo alone, and it's like the original Coca-Cola kind of quintessential scripty logo.
Yeah.
Really was all the way back to the 1880s, which is just
Yeah.
nuts.
That's crazy.
And yeah, maybe they've tweaked it a little bit over the years, but really no significant changes in that amount of time. And then, I think more in the modern era, so like kind of 1950s on, they've owned that red color, like
Yeah.
just never strayed from it. It has been just dominant as their color. They own that color, and no one else can use red like Coca-Cola
Yeah.
does.
Yeah.
Um, but I mean, like, why is that? Maybe some of that is just the longevity of the brand, a willingness to stick to something. It was funny, we were talking about the logo and how it, in a tactical sense, it's not a great logo. It's
No.
a little complicated. It's a little hard to read. That scripty font is maybe, I don't know, for some people might feel dated. I don't know. But I think their willingness to stick with it for so long has made it just ubiquitous.
Yeah.
And I think it's a testament. Like there's kind of these two elements that we talk a lot about with brand. One is the creativity side of branding and creating something that's really memorable and can stick in people's minds and tells a story. And then there's another side to branding, which is just the execution of being consistent over and over and over and over and over
Mm,
again. Like
yeah.
tell that story clearly and compellingly over and over and over and over again. And I think Coca-Cola is a great example of how keeping things simple, not changing things very often, if ever at all, and just consistently telling that story over and over and over again can really do a lot. It can
Yeah.
be really, really powerful, and it can work. Ideally, you have maybe both, both sides of that coin, but they're in a market where their logo works, so why change it?
Yeah. So yeah, besides the kind of the visual side of the brand, obviously that's not, we say it all the time, that's not what a brand is. It's not just a logo or it's not just a color. But the remarkable consistency from a public facing view over 138 plus years, like I said before, it really is iconic for brands. Like when you talk about brands, you'd be hard pressed to find another brand that has gone the same amount of time or longer. Even brands like Apple, you look back into their early days and it's just weird. It's wild. They get crazy.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then over time you simplify, and there might just be a lesson there, like you said, Mike, of like not a super strong logo from just like, if you look at the basics of logos, the best practice of logo creation and design, but how could you move away from a brand that is so strong and so consistent? And they've just done a really good job of resisting the urge. You look back at the 80s. The 80s were a wild time. I was born in the 80s. I know, it was crazy. They tried to do the whole like simplify thing, and then right away, I mean, it took them a while, but they came back. And now, you look at 1941, 2007, they're like, we're going back to the classic. And I think that served them really well. We've talked about the foundations of being a medicinal tonic, medicinal drink, to now what is obviously globally known as, the beverage company. When you think about a beverage company, you think about Coca-Cola. How did they do that, Mike? How did they go from an alcoholic medicine drink to a global brand?
Yeah. I mean, some of that just comes down to the fact that they're willing to invest in marketing and distribution, right?
Yeah.
They're willing to put their name out there. They're willing to put their product in as many places as possible. You think about partnerships, like we were talking about McDonald's. My goodness, like what an amazing deal for both of those brands to build on each other. And interestingly enough, two brands that are somewhat aligned in their culture, right? The value of consistency and like timelessness for those two brands is very high.
Yeah.
And that works really well when they pair those together. You think about like a burger from McDonald's with a Coke, like they go together.
Yeah.
And they're kind of ubiquitous now as a package deal. But I think that's a big part of it. And then also their willingness to, and we'll get more into this, but like their willingness to adapt and bring other brands into their ecosystem, right? Yeah. So like we were looking at Wikipedia, and like the number of brands that Coke owns is just insane.
Yeah.
And that's really a testament to like, hey, yes, we have this signature classic brand that is our signature drink, but we're willing to see what else the market wants. We want to see what else customers want, and we're willing to either create those products or go and find those products already out there that we can put our marketing prowess behind and turn into likewise, like, global brands.
Yeah. I think it's interesting too. Like you talk to business owners, and there's never like some magic button that you push to make your product work or your brand work. What's interesting about Coca-Cola and kind of their foundations was they grew up and eventually hit the prohibition, right? Prohibition laws kind of forced them to change from this medicinal tonic to what we know it really today, which is the non-alcoholic Coca-Cola beverage. And so you probably, in the moment, it was probably really hard because they're like, our big product is completely changing because of the law of the government. They innovated through that, right? They innovated through that, and, probably not all down to luck, but, they had stayed consistent. And when you do that, it's kind of a cool testimony to when you build a strong brand, you're not dependent on your products. You take the alcohol out of your big product, because the brand was strong, the brand continued, even though their product line completely changed probably overnight with some of those laws coming down. And that goes, Mike, too, to just your points about the marketing and cultural integration. They have really kind of become, over time in the beverage industry, the marketing giants, and it's kind of funny, think back to Coke and Pepsi wars that were maybe a little bit more prevalent in like the 90s and early 2000s, where like they were both taking out, and maybe they still do, they're both taking out big Super Bowl ads, and they were going at each other, and Pepsi was getting Aretha Franklin, and Coke was still, sticking with the polar bears or whatever. but they have really just stayed consistent as, you know, they are an engine, they're a marketing engine. But they've built that because of the brand. It kind of all comes back to that brand that for the last 140 years has stayed really, really consistent. And now, you know, probably not just now, but like over time, you see the power of that.
Yep.
To go through so many. I mean, just think about the world 140 years ago. It's insane. You know, how many cultural shifts have they gone through and they're still at the top?
Yep. Some of that too is just they attach themselves to other things that are also classic and timeless, right? Like
Yeah.
going and adopting Santa Claus as one of your like key marketing characters and associating that person with your drink.
Yeah.
And then, you know, that becomes like, oh, we're going to celebrate Christmas. And then eventually it's like, hey, we're just celebrating winter as a company in a lot of their advertising. You think about the polar bears and stuff. And it's like, wow,
which is brilliant.
What comes around every single year is winter.
Well,
winter always comes. And
it's brilliant because
they're attaching themselves to it. Right. So
yeah, well, it's brilliant because like you think about a beverage, like a refreshing beverage that maybe you don't need as much in the wintertime. Maybe you're looking for that hot cocoa or that hot coffee. And they've probably, I don't know if that was a reasoning, but to attach yourself to that and maybe pump up the marketing a little bit more during those months. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's interesting.
And then, you know, beyond that, Super Bowls, major sporting events like the Olympics, you know, just finding yourself and finding ways to attach yourself to things that are big cultural movement, big cultural like moments.
Yeah.
And I think Coke has always done really well with that as a brand.
So Mike, obviously not every business is B2C. Not every business has a, you know, 50 cent or $1 product that you can put in stadiums and gas stations and Costco's. And I think Costco's still Pepsi, but everywhere, right? How do we take away lessons from the brand evolution of Coca-Cola? Really, that could span for any brand.
Yeah, I mean, consistency, right? Mm-hmm. Like sticking to your guns and saying, this is who we are, and we're not going to move from that, at least not easily, right? And just using your brand assets over and over and over again. I think Coca-Cola as a company, as a you know, even just as a whole group of products, a group of different product brands, has done that so exceptionally well. I think that's the number one lesson to take away. But I would also say, like, find partnerships, right? Partner with others to bring your services. Like if you're in B2B services, find ways to partner with others who are aligned with you culturally or from a brand identity perspective, like they have similar values to you, and bring your services together to market together. I think that's another like fantastic lesson from Coca-Cola. There's lots of companies out there you can look at for that kind of lesson, but they do it well, and they've done it really consistently well. And then also just, you know, you can still attach, like even in B2B, you can attach your brand to major cultural moments in ways that are consistent with your identity. I think that's the real key. I think there's a lot of brands that just, oh, this is going on, and so we want to attach our brand to it just because of the awareness that it might provide, without thinking about, well, how does that actually align with us as from an identity perspective? Do we really believe in those things? Does that event or that moment also align with things that we hold really high? So, you know, when you think about Coca-Cola and what they've attached themselves to, they don't attach themselves necessarily to the most popular things just because they're popular.
Yeah.
They attach themselves to big moments that are timeless, that speak to all of humanity, right? The idea of like, we're all together and like we're at the Olympics and we're going to compete together. And we're this one timeless moment that happens once every 4 years. And Coca-Cola is there, right? Or Coca-Cola is at the Super Bowl, and it's this major cultural moment that everyone can agree on, right? Everyone wants to watch the Super Bowl, even if they don't care about the teams, because it's this moment and I don't want to miss it. I want to be a part of it.
I got a pop quiz for you, Mike.
What was that?
I have a pop quiz for you.
Oh, pop quiz. Go for it.
It just popped in my head. No pun intended. If you could narrow down, this is going to be really stupid, but if you could narrow down a niche for Coca-Cola's marketing over the years, what would the niche be? Like what if they were picking out, like, how do we market? How do we do advertising? What do they connect themselves to?
That's a really good question. And I don't know if I have an off the top answer, other than other brands and events that speak to universality and timelessness.
Yeah.
Like when I think about Coca-Cola, I think about everyone enjoys it. Just not everyone does. Everyone has big opinions on it, but their goal or their aspiration is like, everyone should enjoy our products.
Yeah.
And we're timeless in the way we present them.
Yeah.
We don't chase trends. We don't chase big, just the moment, this thing that's happening right here today, just because like, oh, everybody's talking about it for the moment, but it won't be here tomorrow. Yeah. So I think that's it. Obviously, when you get into the size of company that Coca-Cola is, there's a level of like niching that's not possible.
No, I know. It was a poor choice of words. I think you look at like even just the examples you talked about of like Super Bowl, Christmas, golf events or whatever it is. It's almost like they're connecting themselves to celebrations or happiness. I think they've used happiness in a lot of their ads.
Yes.
So like they're connecting themselves to like fun, exciting, celebratory events. And almost like to go along with their consistency, like planned events, like events that everybody looks forward to, right? That are on the schedule. They're not reactive. They are just consistent in kind of how they put themselves out there.
Yep. I totally agree with that. I think your point about happiness is, I missed that. Like that is something I think they've tried really hard to attach themselves to that idea.
Yeah.
But it's funny that like, even when you think about brands they've aligned themselves with, like McDonald's is the same, right?
Yeah.
Like they kind of hold like
Happy Meals, right?
Coca-Cola holds like this idea of happiness in the soda world. McDonald's is trying to hold that in like the burger world, right?
Yeah.
Classic happiness, enjoyment. I think that's a really good point. Really good point. Well, Sam, this has been fun. Thanks for doing a brand evolution with me. I am now going to take a nice, delicious sip of Dr. Pepper.
Oh, that's terrible.
Well, we know where my
is that legal?
Lie.
I think that's illegal.
Hey, we're gonna nobody's paying me for this.
We're gonna get contacted by some lawyers after this. Oh boy. Sponsored by